it's been like winter weather. Like it's colder here than it is in Kentucky right now, which is crazy because everyone always says endless summer. But yesterday there was snow on the mountains, 39 degrees. Not to be that person that just talks about weather. There's nothing worse than that person. Like, it was so cold this morning. It's like, oh my gosh, is this what it's come to?
But here we talked about weather last time too.
I know, Cam, we have to make a pact. No more talking about weather.
Okay.
But if
He's saying no.
If you take that away and then you take away that we can't talk about TV, I will literally have nothing to talk about. Jen's out if we can't talk about TV.
What are you guys watching right now?
Literally, what aren't we watching? It's kind of where we're at.
Everything?
I watched because I was talking to my friend Julie, who's in the Fabus with us, the Fabus Slack, Julie Koenig. Yeah. But she was like, I need constant noise while I'm working. I was like, me too. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but it's always something playing on the background and I get tired of music. So this year it's been all podcasts and TV.
Okay. Yeah.
But okay. So we got the Trial of Peacock, which is NBC's new streaming thing.
Yep.
There's a show called We Are Lady Parts that is hysterical.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
It? Okay.
And it's about these they're Muslim women who are in a punk band and it's so hysterical. Okay. And then there's another one on there. What were we watching? The Capture's good. The Capture. Yeah. And that's like thriller, like mind bending, like what the heck is going on here? And if you want like a show where at the end of every episode, you're like, okay, everything I thought was true was a lie. And it's not even like real life, but you just feel so invested. It's the best show I've watched in a while.
Dang, I'm gonna have to watch it. Yeah, we've been watching Succession.
Everybody's watching it.
I don't know what made me watch it, but I was like, someone else told me about it a long time ago. I was like, God, that sounds terrible. And then I started watching it, and it's a comedy. It's supposed to be like a comedy drama. And I was like, once you get into it, you realize there is funny in all of this. Like, there's just hijinks, and you're like, this is so serious, but there's hijinks that happens. It's great. It's a great written show. So
I know. I need to watch it.
Yeah, season 3 just had its finale, blew my mind. They just threw everything away. It was great. So that's a big move. Because
it's like that can work for you, or people who liked the way it was going could be like, I'm out. I am now out. This is too much for me.
So I think I was about to be out if they didn't do this. So I will say they trended in the right direction. So
clearly they were reading the Reddit forums and they were like, oh shit, we need to pivot. You know, like the user data says no.
100%. So now it's like, I'm like, okay, I'll take another season 4. Let's go. But it's fun. It's a fun show. So I'll definitely suggest it. I told my brother about it. My brother was like, I watched one episode, I didn't get it. So there's also that. So
yeah, I've been there where like everyone's like really like on a show and I'll try to watch it. I'm like, everyone's just a horrible person. Like I need someone to believe in. I need some moral compass. And that's so like naive and like something of me, but I need that. And I was like, if Succession doesn't have that, I don't know if I can hang in there.
I think the hijinks will be enough. Okay. Yeah, the hijinks, it's just funny. You're just like, how do rich people end up here? But it's great. It's a good show. I was gonna say something about it. I don't remember what I was gonna say. They have one of the sons from the show is from he's Macaulay Culkin's brother.
Okay,
I didn't know that. Yeah, and then he was in Home Alone and I didn't even notice. He was one of the cousins.
Yep, so I was watching Home Alone 2 the other day and I saw him and I was like, I totally forgot the brother was in this too. But you know what? Okay, you have to watch the SNL with Kieran McCulkin in it because it's hysterical. Okay. And it's kind of a bummer because some people go on SNL and you can tell just the writing wasn't as strong that week and they're the one who gets remembered for having like a terrible episode. But his was solid, and there's this sketch where he's talking about the weird shit that goes on in men's bathrooms because you get awkward. You're at the urinal and you're like, hey buddy, how about those Broncos? Yeah, trying to make conversation with strangers that, you know, and you just become this person that you're not. And I can't speak to it, but I was like, if this is what's happening, it's very funny. And so Jen's like, I can't speak personally to whether it's true.
It does. And then people just want to talk about stuff and you're like, hey man, like maybe it's because it's hands free and everybody's just like how's like they hit you with like how's the weather, and I'm just like, we're not here for this. Like,
no. let's just pretend we can't see each other until we get out of this room.
Yeah,
like pretend I'm not here.
Pretend like you're British and act like no one else is in the room, and then just walk in, walk out, be gone.
100%. So I'm going to go ahead and intro. I will tell you, I for some reason got super nervous doing this today. I was like, I guess it's because it's probably because it's you guys. But this is something that I'm like passionate about. I really want it to work. So I'm gonna read the intro this time. I've done it 2 times and I've not read the intro and it's gone like off the rails. So okay. Welcome to Do You Know Designers, where I have designers on and ask them random questions to prove that designers are actually real people and not robots. Sad I had to create a whole show to just prove a point, but whatever. I'm your host, Cameron Davis, and today I have on the Hoodzpah sisters.
Hello.
If you guys want to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Jen. I have a slightly lower voice. Is this a video thing too? Are they going to be watching in?
It's video too. Well,
so it's me, and
I'm Amy. I am the other sister, and I have the California. What do they call it? What's that?
The vocal fry.
The vocal fry.
We both have it.
But yours isn't as bad. Mine has gotten off the rails.
The vocal fry? I've never heard of that before.
It's the California, like, hello.
It's the Paris Hilton. It's the Kim Kardashian. It's the this.
It's the Blink-182.
Where are you?
How does that happen? Do they just give you like?
It's cultural.
It's
just
like this.
A West Coast culture thing. I don't know. Some people picked it up harder, crazy. And some people like retained their elegance and dignity, but not us.
It is funny because my friend was like, sometimes I'll tell someone like, yeah, I used to live in Kentucky, and they're like, I could totally hear the twang in your voice, and I'm like, get you. There's no way. There's not a twang in my voice. But people do say when I come back to visit from visiting family there, they're like, you picked up a twang. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you're around it long enough, you just can't help it. Then every sentence starts to end in a question.
But I'm one of those people that I'm very easily influenced by who I'm around. So it's like, if someone's talking a certain way, I feel like I'm like starting to like jive, like I become Southern, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to stop like mimicking.
Be your own person.
Exactly. I need to be confident, an independent woman.
Yeah. Maybe your own person is that. Maybe that's why I am.
Maybe I am.
Jen is. Okay, Cam, do you believe in Enneagram? Like the Enneagram numbers?
I've heard of it. I haven't done my own, but
you haven't done yours. Oh my gosh, please do it. Cause it is,
okay.
I was like, no, it's like horoscopes. It's total BS. And then I did it and I was like, this is like looking into a harsh mirror. It knows me. It knows me better than I know myself. Well, Jen is a 9, which means that she just like adapts to whoever's around her to be accommodating. And that she just 100% described that when she talked about changing her whole accent per the person she's speaking to,
which is funny because it was the opposite in the womb. Apparently I boxed Amy out in the womb. Like I was taking all the space.
Jen was the total bully.
All the real estate. I was Amazon, like in there with the warehouse in a small town. Like, and you were
I was the mom and pop shop just trying to survive.
You were the Dollar General store.
Who's first? Who came out first?
I was supposed to be first, and Jen edged me out.
Oh, literally.
Maybe that's why our personalities are the way. I've never had to work for anything. And I'm accommodating. You feel like you always have to scratch and grab.
I'm like scratching and clawing my way through life.
That's
Cam,
funny.
I would bet that you are a 7. So I want you to take the test, and I want us to recap a week from now after you take the test, and I want you to confirm to me that you are a 7, because I'm a 7, and I think we're the same. Yes.
Okay. You're that confident.
I'm so confident.
Because you're gregarious, you're self-motivated, you have a creative vision, like, all strong like indicators of the 7.
Of the 7.
Okay.
But somebody said that Enneagram is horoscopes for Christians, and that made me laugh so hard. I don't know if it's true, but it made me laugh.
That's so funny. So we are going to kick this thing off. I would like to start with the lightning round. So the lightning round is made up of this or that questions. And it's like 3 or 4, and then we'll see, and we'll warm up into the broader scope of questions. That the main questions are like design related or funny or super deep where it'll like mess you up.
Oh, wow.
So
Are we gonna cry? I think we're gonna cry.
maybe.
If you
Okay.
need to.
So lightning round. Movie theater or arcade?
Movie theater.
Movie theater.
So easy.
Yeah.
Next.
Hands
So
down.
easy. Okay. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Summer.
Easy. I mean, we live in California. We're paying for it. It's been gloomy here. It's been gloomy here for only maybe 3 to 4 days where it's like, the sun's gone. And I'm like in a spiral.
We're like crushing up vitamin E tablets and putting them in her food because we're worried she has like vitamin E
Vitamin D
deficient depression.
I'm cranky. Yeah, I'm cranky. Like I want to go to bed at 3 p.m. Like it's just so much.
But it's true. If you're paying the price to live in Southern California and you don't like summer, get out. It
is funny people
make room
complain
for the rest of
about
us.
summer. It's like, why are you here? This is the wrong place for you. Be free and save your money.
This is the best. Yeah, this is the yeah, that's so funny. All right. So between you two, who wins in a fight?
Oh.
You know what's funny? I used to always be like, me hands down. I feel like I have the rage.
But mine's growing as
Jen
well.
has a quiet rage as well.
Into middle age, I have developed more rage than I am proud of.
Yeah, you are getting angry, which is funny.
Today I was on a support call and I was like, Jen, please be a decent human to the support specialist. But I was already the 6th support specialist and I had almost lost it, which goes back to Kieran McCulkin because on SNL, Culkin.
You were calling him McCulkin. No, Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, I did wrong too.
Culkin. Yeah, Kieran Culkin. He's on an SNL sketch where they talk about calling Spectrum support, which is our internet provider.
Oh
it's so
God.
funny.
Oh, hilarious.
Just another excuse to go watch the SNL with Kieran Culkin. It's
so
hysterical.
Good. It's so good.
I'm there. Okay. What's worse, laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Both. Dishes are absolute worst.
I
Laundry
hate
is
them
nice because
both.
you have something to look forward to, like warm underwear coming out of the dryer. There's not a
I
better
thought you were gonna say
feeling.
warm sheets. It got personal.
I hate
dishwashing
dishes.
is like-
yeah,
Oh, me
dishes is
too.
gross.
Well,
And
see,
it's
the
like,
thing-
go ahead. No, you
Oh,
got
well,
it.
It's your turn. It's your turn. It's your turn. You go.
Okay, it's just like it's something that happens all the time, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. And then you have to scrub and like actually try to get them clean, and I'm just like, I'd rather someone do this for me.
And this is my theory. With laundry, you have something good coming. Like you're working towards a positive end result. With dishes, the good thing has already passed. You've already eaten.
The meal has been eaten.
There's no more carrot at the end of the stick. Why? Like there's no incentive.
I think you fit. That's it. Because I
That's it.
cook.
Wow.
So I do the cooking. So now
Oh.
I cook it, and then I have to eat it, and then I have to wash dishes. You're right. The good part's gone.
Good part's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are
How
you
do
a
we
pretty good
fix
chef
this?
then?
I try.
I do too. It's hard.
Yeah,
Like I want
it's
to be
hard.
good. I am the person, you know how they're like, if you want to do something, just try hard enough and you'll be great at it. I'm like, not with cooking. I have
Cooking
tried
is-
so hard.
I tried to
Yeah.
melt chocolate last night. I had to go through 6 attempts. Apparently, if the slightest bit of water gets in, you're screwed. It's over. So I did it in the microwave 3 times. I did it in the pan twice. And then the 6th time, I finally nailed it. But I was like, this is insanity.
You would have been the first one off the British Bake Off.
Oh, yeah.
Gone
would
for
not-
first week.
I would not
Dang.
have made the fine. Like, how do you get in those
Oh,
things?
you wouldn't have made the initial the initial interview.
Have you seen? There's a guy on Instagram who does chocolate modeling.
Wow.
Well, there's a new show on Netflix where it's like,
That guy has an Instagram where he shows off how he does all that stuff.
yeah.
Blows my mind. I'm like, you're
I
not
don't get
supposed to do that with chocolate.
but-
Like,
Why? Just it's too much work. That's too much.
it'll blow your mind though. You'll be
That's
sitting there.
exciting.
You'll be scrolling through like all his videos. So
Okay,
I'll have to
speaking
send
of
him your way.
Yes, I mean, like,
Instagram and joy and cooking, you got to look up the Tiny Chef.
Oh,
which
he's so
You might have
cute.
seen
Oh.
it, but it's this little creature that someone made out
it's like
of,
a little puppet,
and they have him, and he talks like Cartman from South Park, and it's so funny.
but
and
he's
he-
adorable. It's not
But
disgusting.
it's like adorable and sweet instead of like crass and silly. But it's amazing.
All right, I found it. I'll check it out. That is kind of creepy though.
yeah. He's at first you're like, wait, what? And then you're like, oh, this is nice.
All right. So we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes of things.
Okay.
So,
Ready.
question number 1. I'm going to tell you I nerd out over this part. I put it in a spreadsheet and then also do a number generator. So I'm not picking questions. The universe is picking your questions.
The robots are.
I love that. It's the algorithm, baby.
It's the algorithm. All right. So what would you call a male ladybug?
But how does he identify?
A gent bug, but that doesn't, it has to have a good mouthfeel, and that's not right. So Monsieur Bug, is that getting better or is that getting worse?
That's about as close as
I like that. Yeah.
Fella bug.
Fella bug is fire.
Fella Bug
has a good roll of the tongue.
Yeah. I like this because this is how we name companies. Is we'll just go back. It doesn't have good mouth feel, too long, too awkward.
Also, Fella bug, I feel like people would figure out how to spell it pretty easily.
Fella Bug,
yeah.
Final answer.
I think that I like that though. Like that someone should name something that. I like that.
Yeah. Or this a little bit shorter, him bug.
Like
himbo, the him bug. Okay. All right. Well,
it almost sounds like
humbug.
Humbug, yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like humbug.
I like Fella Bug though.
Fella Bug's cute.
I don't know if I can come up with anything better, so we're gonna move on.
It's official.
All right. What is your favorite smell?
Bacon.
Oh wow,
Ooh.
that's a good one. Okay, mine right now is spruce scented candles.
Yes, but if it's done wrong,
it's hardly ever done wrong. Even when it's wrong, it's right. Even when it's wrong, it's better than not.
When it's done wrong, it smells like cheap men's body wash.
Yeah, but I actually love the smell of cheap men's body wash, like Old Spice deodorant. If a man's wearing Old Spice deodorant, it's like catnip to me. It's the cheapest thing, but I'm like, hello, sir. Do you work hard? Do you need an antiperspirant that works hard for you? I think you're my kind of guy, a blue collar guy.
That's so funny.
Oh my god,
that's so funny. Mine right now is probably like Palo Santo. I like Palo Santo.
Oh yeah.
Always
good.
Like
Like
nice
sandalwood type thing. Like, is that what we're talking about here? Okay, I love that. Yeah.
It also keeps the ghosts away, So
it does. Good. It has dual purposes. Yeah.
Is it like used in Santeria, kind of like Santeria things, or like what is it for?
But I think it like certain indigenous peoples use it to like cleanse stuff. Like it's like
so it's like the original burning sage.
Yes, but sage gets everything out. Palo Santo just gets out like it just gets out the bad energy on its own, like just the bad energy.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you want to set it and you're like, oh, I gotta get this, there's some weird vibes in here. Palo Santo. If you're newly moving into somewhere, you sage it and you get like
okay,
but
you want a fresh slate.
Here's the thing though, it's not working because everyone in LA is burning Palo Santo and half of them are terrible people. They're still there.
The vibes are still questionable.
The vibes are still, the motivation's all wrong.
That's so funny. Yeah, I like it. I'm just like, ooh, I could like that and just smell it like on its own. So yeah, that's me. But I thought your favorite smell question, I think that's like, it's kind of funny because who thinks about that sometimes? You know what I'm saying?
Right. It is funny. Yeah, I know. But I stock up every year. It comes time for the holidays and I stock up on 3 things. Number 1, chocolate covered brandy cherries from Trader Joe's. It only comes once a year and they sell out so fast. You have to be on it. Number 2, brandy beans, the other alcoholic chocolate from Trader Joe's. They didn't even come. That's how quickly they were gone. I didn't even see them once.
That's crazy.
And number 3, pine scented candles, because those are my 3 favorite things, which are weirdly winter things, but I love summer. Yeah. I'm a dichotomy.
I'm a full person.
What can I say? I've got layers. Okay. I've got layers. You can't box me in.
Except Jen. She's the only one.
She boxed me out.
I boxed you out, but I can't box you in. You're right.
Okay. Next question. So what benefits does art provide society? Does art hurt society in any way?
Ooh, interesting. Well, I was listening to a podcast, Smartless, which is with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
And they're so funny. They're so funny, and they're like best friends. And it's so effortless. You can tell they're just shooting the breeze, and it's better than any podcast that people have spent hours and hours and hours, researching and developing, and it's like one of those unfair things. But they had the editor of the New Yorker on, and they were talking about how what like a big effect art has like on everything, politics, everything, changing people's minds. They were like, it's one of the greatest ways you can change people's minds aside from voting is like creating art, because it's a way to talk to people in a way that's not confrontational, and they have their guard down because they're expecting to be entertained. So they're much more openly receiving information. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I always tell people it's like it breaks people's walls down so they can actually like ingest the message.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
Because if you tried, I don't know, I feel like Facebook showed up and everybody tried to just talk to each other on computers and with no art around, and it just got hairy. Like,
oh, it got so bad. Right. That's true. That's kind of what they were talking about, is like just yelling at each other.
Yeah.
Or just like the glory of art. Like I was watching this documentary about Norman Lear, who created a lot. Like he was one who got the Jeffersons started, and All in the Family, and all these shows that brought Black people onto the screen in a really prominent way. And it's like, it's just interesting how they used comedy to do this really intense thing. And it broke down these walls that if it was in person or if it was out of the context of comedy, it might've been this really intense and scary thing, but I just think that's so cool. Throughout history, some of the biggest changes have been through people that, like, it's not like they were in political power. It's not like they were like leading some resistance or they were just like making art in a way that connected with people on a human level. And that helped change minds, which is so freaking cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So cool. Yeah. Do you think there's any negatives?
I'm sure there is, because in the same way that you can influence people positively towards a message, things like propaganda can influence people negatively towards message, right? You can then make someone into the enemy pretty quick with just a badly lit, piece or whatever, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure nowadays more than ever, because people are so into quick reactions, a lot of people, I'm sure, have experienced like a misrepresentation of themselves,
for sure,
in
through
a way.
art though.
Maybe not through art, I don't know, but it is interesting.
It is.
I know when Vine was huge, a lot of the like Black creators, they were doing a lot of like minstrel show type comedy, to where it was like it demeaned Black people. It brought us down to like these single monolithic beings. But it worked. It caught with who they were the audience they were trying to catch with. So that's probably an example of bad, where you're just trying to use it to garner favor and then like smash down the people that it actually represents.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then just probably just stealing from people who originated, like who created it and not giving them credit is probably another way that people do it.
Yeah, that's the toughest part, right? It's like, it is so hard because there's trends, but then there's just straight up thievery. So I think a lot of like, and I think also there's this thing where bigger companies hire people and there's no double checking of their work. So if they're just grabbing something, which happens all the time. All the time. I had a friend who worked at Urban Outfitters, and they were saying that they were really trying to crack down on their designers understanding what copyright means. Like you can't just grab somebody's stuff off the internet that you like and like trace it.
That's probably the crazy thing, is how few maybe younger or greener designers don't understand the rules.
Yeah, sure.
They don't realize
fair use.
And because definitely people have straight up ripped us, meaning like live trace something we did and just change like the text and logo, but the whole logo is exactly the same.
Right.
And we just reached out and we're like, hey, you need to take that down. Like a client paid for that and it's their brand now. And they were like mortified. Most of the time people, they're just young, they don't realize, which is kind of crazy. It's like, how is that not covered?
But if you're self-taught and if you're just used to like collaging, or it's like we all drew the Stussy logo growing up, like what's the difference? Like you might not know,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I've seen a lot of people go and they do the whole like they pull stock imagery together and then call it like logo making or design, and it's just from being green and not knowing. So and I understand how that's probably embarrassing, but
Yeah.
I think that's
we've all been there. We've all had that
Yeah.
moment growing up where
Yeah.
it was too close to the inspiration, because at first, you know, it's cool. You're trying so hard to mimic the people that you look up to,
for
and
sure.
you're doing it too closely at first. Like, I was listening to a talk with Josiah Atkinson, who she does such cool design, and she's at Josiah on Twitter. And she was talking about how a lot of people copy her, and she was so gracious about it. She's like, listen, I mimicked the things that I looked up to on Tumblr. She didn't say she copied them, but she was like, we all do that when we're starting out, when we're green, but like, sure, copy me now, but like, start to find your own thing. Like, figure out how I did it, but then like find you, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, she was so gracious about that. Cause I think everyone starts out that way, trying to mimic the masters, right? Even when you're in art school, they have students go to, the Louvre, set up easels and mimic the master to see, how did he get that brushstroke? How did she get that brushstroke? So I understand like the reason that we all start doing that when we're younger. We're trying to reverse engineer.
Yeah. And it's out of love. It's you're just trying to be like great.
Yes.
Yeah, you love them. Like,
I love this. This is cool. Like, how do I do this?
Yeah. And I remember when I started, I was just like, I ingested a lot. I just looked at a lot of like different work. I had artists or designers that I thought were like my favorites. But I was more about trying to figure out process, like how, like, what do you push? Like, just like button pressing in Instagram.
Totally.
So I used to take videos of people's design work and then screen record it on my phone and then play it back in slow motion so I can kind of see where the mouse pointer was going and stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting. I know. I love watching live streams. I find it fascinating to see how other designers work, because even Jen and I have completely different processes. So I'm always interested to see how somebody else's creative like thought process goes.
For sure.
Totally.
And have you guys heard of a mukbang before?
No, what's that?
So basically it's weird, but you saying that made me think about mukbangs are basically like a person you look up to, influencer or like a podcast host, will go and eat a meal on screen, and apparently it got big in like Korea, so people liked watching them while they were also eating lunch, so it felt like they were eating alongside someone else.
Oh, that's
weird.
Funny.
So
I think Meg Lewis did that for a while. She'd be like, watch me eat like Applebee's. And it was all like, just like super middle American, like, kind of like
chain restaurants.
Yeah, but the kind that are like kind of fancy. It's like, ooh, we're going to Olive Garden. Like, it's not Taco Bell, it's Olive Garden. This is nice.
Yeah.
This is, put your good jeans on.
I think of that like with design, like when you guys do your live streams, I'm usually working along with it too. So I wonder if that's the same kind of feeling, is you feel like you're in the office with somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah. It is. It's a solidarity, I think, for sure. Cause I like to do them because it's like, me and Jen work next to each other all day, and B sometimes is in the room too, but it can just be a little bit isolating being a freelancer. So it's like, it's so fun to do those live streams and everyone's in the chat and we're all laughing. Those are like the most fun.
Yeah. You guys always do something cool too. You always pick a subject that's like super interesting, and I'm like, oh, how are they going to do that? Like,
that's good. I'm so glad. I know this is not to be mean, but it's like, how you watch others. I'm sure you do it with podcasting. You try to find the podcast that you like, because you're like, what makes this more interesting than like the 30 other podcasts that I stopped listening to because they were boring.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm always watching live streams and trying to be like, why does this one work and why does that one not work? So
yeah, for sure. All right, next question, guys. If you could be any character from a TV show, who would you be?
Oh, this is so fun. Oh my gosh. I feel like I always want to be people in TV shows. So it's like, who is it?
I know.
Dang. Okay. First of all, what am I watching? Okay. I've always wanted to be a private investigator.
Oh,
like you don't work. You're not a detective. You're like
But here's the
You're
thing.
on your own. You're hired by the people.
You think you want to be a private detective because the mystery and snooping is fun. But when it comes to confronting them, like, have you ever watched Columbo or Murder, She Wrote? You have to be the biggest pain in people's ass to like,
just one more
question. Or like Angela Lansbury is like totally a thorn in the side. Like the way you have to really just like catch people out, you have to win their trust and then you have to catch them out. Like that would be so uncomfortable.
That would be
so I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And by the end of it, I'd be like, they're a good person. They didn't mean to. we all make mistakes, you know? Like, I'm always trying to like, and that guy was kind of an asshole. Like,
oh my gosh, that is so true. That or like the X-Files. I love that kind of like, the truth is out there. There's a cover up. Yeah. Aliens are real, which now aliens are real. They've admitted it. We all just acted like we all believed the whole time. Unbelievable it's how crazy. That just went under the radar.
The UFO who was it? Was it the NSA? Who was it that like
it was the NSA? They just released all the docs that were like, they've been real all along. It's fine.
I'm good. I am good on alien stuff.
You're like, no.
It.
Yeah. You just want to keep your blinders on. It's just us. The truth is not out there.
I don't need truth. Let me be. Truth is too much sometimes.
Sometimes it is too much. I believe that. That's the one thing I think would be hard about doing like private investigation or detective work.
Seeing who people really are.
What people are capable of.
Yeah, that's
pretty much any like true crime documentary you watch. At the end of it, people are like, I didn't even know that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
it's like their wife. They're like, I didn't even know him.
Yeah. It's like everyone has that secret side. That's terrifying. Nobody wants to know. You're supposed to take those things to the grave with you, you know? It's like,
I saw a comedian was talking about like, Jim just he brewed a mean Pilsner. I didn't know he's murdering people. Like,
and then it turns out he was keeping people in his basement. You know?
Like, that is so funny.
He was a deacon at our church. It's like, oh my gosh, you can't trust anyone.
I know these people on the shows are like, they were a nice man. I don't know. He lived next to us for 20 years. He was a nice man. It's like, oh my goodness. But my cousin has he's like, I love when I first meet someone, pretty soon after meeting them, I try to find a reason to tell them no about something, just something small, because people's true self comes out when you tell them no. And I was like, dang, that is some deep, and it's true. It's so true. I feel like I do this when dating, because it's like, it's a good little test.
No, I am not paying for that.
Just no for no reason. And what are you going to do about it? No, I'm kidding. It's not like that, but just, instead of trying to be always pleasing, just like saying no.
Setting boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. And then seeing how somebody reacts.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Pretty interesting.
Jen, what you got, Jen?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What TV character would you want to be?
You know what's funny is when you were saying that, I immediately thought of Homer Simpson, and only because his joie de vivre is like incredible. Like, you know how they always show him he's having little fantasies and he's like tiptoe dancing around with little fairies around his head and just eating donuts and drinking beer. And his life is so simple. And he has such blind confidence about his capabilities. He's sitting there with his feet up at the,
power plant.
At the power plant, underqualified and overconfident. I mean,
100%.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good person. I'm just saying his existence must be blissfully amazing,
He's just loving life. Like nothing ever stops him. Nothing slows him down. I would definitely say Ron Swanson. Parks and Rec. That would like that guy. Like he has the things that he loves, and he loves them like emphatically. And I'm like,
yes.
I wish I loved the things more. Like,
I wish I loved the saxophone the way he loves the saxophone, or loved anything the way he loves the saxophone.
But you're right. He has such a clear sense of identity, who he is, what he likes, what is not okay, what is okay. I'm always interested in people who have very clear defined opinions, no matter what they are. It's just like, wow, you really know yourself. That's
you get it. I don't get myself that much.
I'm still working on it too. Yeah.
So, I'm currently in therapy trying to work all that stuff out about myself, because I was a person that used to defer a lot too, where it was just like, but it was like unhealthy, where it's just like, I'll just be a chameleon and I'll play to everybody in the room,
right? And but you don't ever get taken care of, kind of a thing.
You usually get stepped on all the time.
And then one day you're the guy that they say he was such a nice man, but he snapped. They pushed him too hard.
That's true.
But it's true. Like, if you let people,
yeah.
that's true. It's like it starts to seep out the more you like let it. Yeah. No, I think that's good that you're
100%.
learning how to stick up for yourself. That's great.
Yeah. And just, I don't know. I just felt like as a kid, I just didn't do things that were like I liked. I was like, what stuff do I like? I'm like, let me go skip down the street real quick, see if I like that still. Like,
that's so funny.
And how was it? Did you enjoy it?
It was great. I did like it. It was I skipped a little too fast. I was out of breath at the end. So
I've been there though, when you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go jump on the trampoline. Sure, I'm 35. This will be fine. And then you're like,
your knees die. Your knees just buckle.
You're just like, not right. My body has been sedentary for 10 years, sitting in a chair
100%.
designing. I'll have to remember that next time.
I think I went roller skating one time in like I think it was my I'm saying late 20s, like I'm not 31. Like
just last year. It was last year.
And I fell so many times, and like you just gotta like hold it together, like you're okay, and you're like dying on the inside.
Oh my gosh, that's right. So funny. That's why we're at that age where you really like stretching becomes very important. Like the morning stretch is like a must,
especially when there's a big like temperature change. Like if it's cold out, you better be doing your stretches in the morning, otherwise you're gonna be hurting later on.
Isn't that's I don't know, that's just so wild that it kind of, you're right, it does creep up on you. Like, I'm getting there. Like, not that you're old, but you're like, you don't move the same. Like, it's almost like when you're a kid, you're superhuman, which
you are. Like, you look at kids, they're like rubber. It's like they can bend backwards and nothing breaks. It's amazing.
Nothing breaks. All right. Are you guys ready for the next question?
Ready.
Yes.
All right. What is your favorite type Foundry? I know you guys are a type Foundry, but
ooh, this is so hard because there's so many that I love.
Central Type always does
Central Type is so cool. They have this shine effect on everything, which doesn't come with the font, but he does it after the fact. That is just like so incredible.
Unlike a lot of people, I think he has a very strong sense of his brand identity for his studio.
Yeah.
And a lot of type designers don't have that. It's like a very vanilla interface. It's not about the Foundry, which makes sense. It's about the type.
Right.
But I do like how Central Type and like Ono, they have very clear sense of brand identity. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Another great one. Ono is a great one, but Sudtipos. It's
Sudtipos.
Sudtipos. And I think they're out of Brazil or Argentina.
Yeah.
But it's a group of a bunch of people, and they're all from all over the world, but they all kind of release their fonts under this, this like, group.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's really hard to find good script fonts. They have all the good script fonts in one place. Like, it's incredible.
And I think they're on Adobe Fonts, so you can find them there too. Yeah. They might not have the whole collection on there.
Yeah.
And then Maddox from Fort Foundry. Foundry's great.
Yeah. They make stuff that has just enough personality, but it's still incredibly
very
usable.
Yeah. And then Mark Canesso of PS Type. His stuff's really good too as well. Yeah.
And we got to give Maddox a shout out because we'll call him with all of we're new to font making, and typography and all that. So I'm like, Maddox, would you look at this and just make sure I won't get ridiculed? I released Lone Pine and I was like, why can't I make Western, Latin support, Western characters? I know where to put an umlaut, but I didn't know where to put everything. And I definitely did a few things wrong. But luckily, Kyle Latondra, who's, again, look up to him so much in the type community, he just emailed me and he's like, hey, just so you know, this is supposed to look like this. This is supposed to look like this. And I was like, thank you, Kyle. That's so kind. I just felt so uncomfortable, like sending a font to someone and being like, can you review this? I just thought that was like a step too far. But then people were so nice to reach out. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to have to keep sending people stuff so I don't look like a fool again, make a fool of myself.
Yeah, I definitely, Ono's like right now is one of my favorites. I think that obviously I had to like corral it into one of my brand fonts because I was like, ooh, I love this.
Yeah, so good. That bouncy like boldness.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Like I like it because it's like it has all you need, but it's also like fun. So
yeah,
the thing that it's been really cool to follow you guys is like seeing everybody using your guys' stuff. I'm like, that has to feel amazing, like to see it like
feels so good
out there.
That's like my favorite thing. Just searching, like every now and again, I'll jump on hashtag Hood Fonts and I'm like, it's alive. It's a thing that I no longer control whatsoever. It's got a life of its own. Like it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone used it for like a NBA, like the Phoenix Suns the other day.
Yes.
I was like, that application looks so cool. Like,
I think that was Julian Martinez, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in our Faba's course, but yeah, like who does he work with? Sneaker.
He works with
Anyway, he works with a sneaker company and they were doing a collab. And I was like, Julian, I can never thank you enough for like, this was on Devin Booker's foot. Like what?
Oh, it really was?
On 1 degree of separation.
They got those
Devin
made.
Booker.
It was like custom shoes and Reshoevnator. That's who he works with. They did a collab with the Phoenix Suns and it was on these custom shoes, the font that you made.
Yeah, Palm Canyon Drive.
Devin Booker, Chris Paul, like the Suns were wearing it. It was crazy.
Yeah, Chris Paul.
Fire.
One of the most gorgeous men in the NBA. The man never ages. It's insane.
He's like
His
Pharrell.
eyes are the
Yes,
color
Pharrell.
of
That's
Carlos
right.
and Pharrell. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Pharrell never ages either. You know what's
There
funny? I
used
was
to be-
watching.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was watching a game last night, the Dallas Mavericks versus Lakers. And Jason Kidd is weird because he also never ages, but he's always looked 40. Like when he was 22, he looked 40.
Right.
And he still looks 40, even though he's 50. Like he's just it's one of those like weird ones.
They used to say that Pharrell was like a vampire.
Yeah.
He has looked the same.
Yeah.
I'm like, the man's gonna be like 60, 70 and look the exact same. And I'm like,
Him and Jennifer Lopez have discovered the secret to youth.
they have.
Yeah.
I'm sure it costs a lot.
That's what I'm like, they're doing something. You can't be a celebrity and not be doing something. The pressure is too much, too great.
The pressure's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had all that money, I would find something too.
Oh, we would
like,
look insane if we had all that money.
We would look like fucking Siegfried and Roy over here.
We'd be like, yeah, oh man.
Our foreheads don't move anymore, guys.
Yeah, everything's just like
yeah. So yeah, that's I think that's really cool to like see it and like people it seems like people love it. Like people love your guys' type. So
thanks.
I always
Yeah.
shout it out every chance I get.
Dude,
You're so
Cameron,
sweet.
you're so nice to do that. I'm like so honored when people will use the hashtag. I'm like, I know it's a big thing. It's like,
yeah.
you don't have time to think about this. You're just trying to post your work.
Yeah.
But I always
sure.
am so thankful when people do it.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I think we have time for one more. Oh, this is the question that I ask everybody. This is the sunrise moment for all of our careers. What is your design end game?
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think for me, it's the things that have brought me the most joy, because project to project, I'm one of those people that like every project's the coolest project I've ever worked on. I'm like, this is amazing. Everything else was trashed until this, but I'm also very proud of all the things I've done. But I think the coolest thing has been making the fonts and writing the book that we wrote, Freelance and Business and stuff, because seeing how other people are like taking and running with something that has helped them grow is like such a cool thing that is rewarding infinitely because our career is probably on the downward arc, I would say.
What do you mean?
Well, I feel like as a brand, you go through this thing of like,
It's
especially
cyclical.
when you're a small studio, it's like, are they the hot new studio? And then it's like, oh, we already know about them. They're not the hot new studio. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, especially when you're small, it can be hard because it's like, when you're small, you have to bank on that new indie thing.
But Amy, here's the thing, like bell bottoms, it's all cyclical. It'll come back every 20 years.
Sure.
We just got to wait it out.
But I'm saying, if you're not so worried about like, am I the best?
Right.
Or like, is the work I'm putting out the best it's ever been, which I do feel like I am putting out my best work that I have. But that being said, it's like seeing other people using the things that you've made and making something new with it that you would never think to do is so rewarding. And I think I was listening to a podcast, I think it was Dax Shepard's, which I can only do in spurts because they get like really heavy on the like self-analyzing thing. And sometimes it's too much for me, they do say some interesting things. Like he was saying that when he was really depressed and he was going to therapy, his therapist said, well, like, what are you doing to be of service? And he was like, right now your life is all about you. And all you can think about is like, what's wrong with you and what you're not fulfilling as far as your goals. And he was like, well, what do you like? Oh, I like cars. And he was like, well, what kind of cars? I don't know, like military vehicles, off-road vehicles. Well, what if you do a USO tour? And so he started doing these USO tours, and it brought immense joy and fulfillment, bringing joy to somebody else who's going through this crazy thing overseas, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting to think about. Like, if you're starting to feel down on your career and like, am I good enough? Am I going to be as big as, you know, Herb Lubalin one day? Like, will I be remembered? Those are too big thoughts to think. That's too much to put on yourself. Instead, thinking like, how can I invest in this community in a way that is like bigger than just my personal goals?
Yeah, 100%.
I
just second what you say. Pretty much. No, but it's true though, because especially when you're in creative field and you're service based, or you know, pretty much your day to day, if your only purpose is found in whether a client likes it or whether your boss likes it, like,
or whether the masses
like it, like that's kind of something that you can't rely on. They're not always going to like it. It's not always going to be successful. That you're going to do some things that probably weren't better than before, things like that. Right. But when you are trying to serve others and it becomes more of like, you know, relationship building, that's something that it does give back in a way that do they like it doesn't, you know?
I like that. I like the service, because it always seems like designers end up teaching in some way. You guys have already started that, like you've already started your path, but that's a way to kind of give back and like give back to design and the future of design. So I always find that fascinating. But yeah, I don't think I understand what you mean by the end of the career thing, but I think you guys like are going to continue to rise. Kind of.
We'll keep going. Yeah, don't worry.
I think we'll always have work just because we're easy to work with. But but as far as like you get what I'm saying. You know what I was saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I also see like the future. We're moving really. I think like the whole like when we shut everything down in 2020, like. I think that really propelled people to this future where things are going to be smaller. We're all going to be in our own small. You already see Facebook and these big tech companies, people are coming after them. So I think what's going to be the future is smaller. I think the Slack groups, I think people are going to be living in Slack groups with their closest friends. I think it's going to be small businesses. I think it's going to be freelance work, and that's going to be all across the board, because I think it's just to be more agile. I think that's what we're going to have to kind of do in the future. I don't see us being able to handle these big group things like we were doing in the past. So.
Yeah, it does feel like it's gotten like bigger than ever, and more people are more jaded than ever.
Yes.
And we were talking to our friend Alex Rinker the other day, and he's a one-man studio, and he puts out some of my favorite work ever, and he works with huge brands. And same with Mackie Saturday. They're both like very small studios, as small as we are, but they're doing some of the strongest and biggest rebrands like out there. Well, like he's competing with these big agencies that have these huge ticket prices, you know?
And I think that speaks to something. Well, and we were talking about how when you grow, there's actually more risk that you lose hold of the quality control and that you wanted to have to begin with, because you're so removed from it. Now, that's not true of every group and agency, but I mean, when you talk about legacy, like sure, some of the bigger agencies might live longer, but did they control the quality and the experience as much as maybe if you can when you're really like a tight knit small group,
right? Like Paul Rand or Bluebelin, right? Like those, they were,
and there's examples on both where they've done incredible work. But I think most people are tempted to think like if it wasn't big, it won't live on, or it won't have like lasting power,
right?
But really, like small one-off people have done incredible things, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I read a book called Start With Why. And one of the tenets in it talks about just having that core belief of why you're doing this, and how as you grow and as you get bigger, a lot of people lose that core why, and it's evident, and it's kind of their demise. One example they talk about is Walmart, and how when Walmart started by Sam Walton, it was about the family. It was about the employee. It was about small. It was about he only took, I think,
it was about small.
Yeah, at the most he took like $300,000 himself was the most he ever made a year, when he was building Walmart, but now it's completely skewed into something else, and you can you feel it after a while. I feel like there's a spirit to it, and as long as you hold on to that spirit and the reason why you started it. I post the reason why I started all of this on my wall in front of my computer,
because
I
smart.
like to try to look at it all the time. But I feel like that's what keeps you from losing yourself, because as you do gain that favor and get bigger, it's so much easier to be like, I could just be trendy and people know who I am already, and I don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
That's like the Beatles documentary that just came out on Disney Plus, Get Back. Have you seen it, Cam?
I have not. I haven't seen it.
Cam, it's so good. It's weird because it's, in one way, it's extremely boring. Like each episode is like 3 hours of it. You're like almost watching in real time them working these songs out.
Oh, what?
But you cannot you cannot look away. It's like, and I'm constantly rewinding because their accents are so heavy and like turning subtitles on for temporarily to figure out what the heck they're talking about. But the one amazing thing is they were throughout the whole thing, they're reading all these articles about themselves, and it's just like pretty nasty, scathing, sometimes just completely made up stuff. And like people were disenchanted with them. And the people who liked the old stuff are like, who's this new Beatles that are like all rock and roll, like edgy, like boys, you know? And I just think it's so interesting when people are brave enough. They had so much success doing the thing that they were doing, and yet they still managed to grow together despite all the personality differences. They managed to compromise, and it didn't break the thing. In fact, it probably made it better because they had to let go a little bit, because it was 4 guys having to make a decision. And in some ways, I love that, not having quality control. Like, I'm constantly playing devil's advocate with myself on how I feel. I want complete control. And yet I know if I have complete control, I will screw it up. It will be too precious.
I get what you're saying.
So it's like knowing when to let go and having someone being like, launch it. Just launch it.
Yeah.
We're not taking it again. That was a good take. Like,
I get what you're saying.
You only get 3 takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, I need to check that out. I definitely do. Cause I don't know. I just like watching greats. That's like one of my, one of my new, our art director at my new job, he's super like, I don't know how to even describe him, but he's so into Kanye West. Like, Kanye West is like, he has Yeezys on his feet and he's listening to like Jesus Walks as he's like floating across the office. But we watched this Vox like mini, like 10-minute documentary thing on Kanye West's like musical process through all of his albums. And it like just fascinated me.
It's so good.
Just to have the gall to do some of the stuff that he did. I'm just
Totally. People, like, it's like, even if you don't like him or the music, it's like to have a vision and to go against the grain. There's something interesting there, right? Like I do find that fascinating. I know. I used when I was a kid, I used to watch the biography channel, like, and any kind of like VH1 behind the music, entertainment. They had that one on entertainment. That
I
was
know
like,
what you're talking about. It was, but similar.
Similar. But any kind of celebrity's background was so fascinating, because inevitably they all overcame some sort of amazing hardship, and they all had to like fight against something. And I just am like, it's not supposed to be easy. Like that, like if you think it's supposed to be easy, you're not in the right mindset.
Yeah.
100%.
Life is not set up to be easy. Like, you have to be willing to do the work and to kind of have the fight a little bit and choose your fight, you know?
Yeah. It's almost, I've been thinking about this a lot, is like, the human condition is struggle. Like it's literally, you don't get anywhere without having something that like is hard. You think about our like immune systems, they get better as they're challenged. Like you think about like our muscles working out, they get better as you challenge them.
You're tearing them a little to build them up. That's fascinating.
So our minds and our work has to also be the same thing. We have to be pushing it, or else what are we doing? We're
because well, and the point when you kind of start like just like giving in is when you kind of start losing that lust for life, you know? Well, it's like, I mean, because you see when people retire, they kind of go into depressive episodes sometimes, and it's not because they want to work themselves to the bone still, but they've kind of lost that thing that sharpens them, that like that kind of like you said, like
problem solving, or
yeah,
like
the problem, the
struggle,
the agility that you
Yeah.
get from like dealing with things that you don't want to deal with.
Yes.
And the kind of the patience you learn, the the problem solving you learn when
Yes.
everything becomes about doing exactly what you want to do. That's when you probably stop growing,
100%,
because you're not being challenged like you used
That's
to
a
be.
quote,
And that's
that
why
goes on a t-shirt. You just
put it on a
just
t-shirt.
that's a new poster. I was the thing. We need a new poster.
But it is funny because sometimes we'll have like a bad client experience. It doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while we're just like, oh, I just want to do only Hoodzpah stuff. We'll just sell only fonts, but to be honest, like the client work keeps us honest and it keeps us sharp because it's like they're pushing back and you're like
they're questioning like, well, I don't really like this. Why'd you do this? And you're like,
and you have to either make a case or you have to give in. So it keeps you sharp in a way that even though sometimes I'm like, I think it's so valuable to have that input and for it not to only be like only my vision, so
100%. Yeah. I used to have, so that's another thing that like October, I had to like face the ego part of it. Cause I don't know that, how they always say it's like, there's like a curve in our path in our career. At the beginning, you learn a little and you feel like you know everything. And then you go right past that and you drop to the bottom and you're like, I don't know anything. And I feel like I hit that moment in like October and I had such an ego about stuff when I was at the top of that hill. And me and my wife because we'll do work for her sometimes. And we would always end up in terrible arguments because I was just so, I don't know. I guess I wanted more for her than like any other client type of thing. It was just weird. And then I heard you guys on John Contino's podcast and you said it's like a body on the table and we're operating and we have to find, like, we have to keep this person alive. And when I had heard that analogy, I was like, dang, like it really is that. Like
that was Matt Damon talking about getting feedback on his Ben Affleck's movie. Pretty much the person they asked for feedback was like, okay, I know this is your movie, I know this is your baby, but let's pretend like it's a person dying on the operating table.
It's nothing personal.
It's nothing personal. Are you ready for me to tell you what's wrong with it? And he's like, shit, okay, yes. And that's how he framed it so that they wouldn't take it personally, but so that they would actually listen and try and save the movie's life. But it's true, you can't get too attached.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was great. So now I like live by it. I'm like, okay, ego over there. We gotta fix this. Like
totally. I know. Work. I want to be that way. I know. I can get into my head. I go through these huge ups and downs where like 1 week I'm like, I'm the best there is, baby, and then the next week I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a hack. Like there's so much that I left to know, or that I'm like that I screwed up on this thing or whatever. So it is, you do have to leave the ego out in both ways. One is, oh, poor me, it didn't work out. And one is like, no one can tell me nothing,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So it's always, I feel like it's always like a balancing act. You're like, and you're right. So much of this is a balancing act, like working with like customers as deeply as we do. And that's what on another one of these episodes I filmed. The thing I love about design and the service of design is just getting to hear people's stories. Like we get to hear everybody's reason why they did this in the first place. Not everybody gets to see that sometimes. So it's just like, we're so deeply entrenched in like, we have to be so honest with each other and trust people, like trust each other. So it's a fine, like the whole thing's a fine line. So that's what's so fun about it all. But I appreciate you all. I had a good time.
Too, Cam.
This is fun. Yeah,
this is amazing. I'm glad you invited us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
So hopefully this gets bigger. So I'm trying to work my magic, but I like this. I like talking. I like talking to, especially you guys are great to talk to. I feel like I don't have to say anything. Like I've done this, especially like podcasting before. You have guests on and they don't understand this kind of space, so they don't understand you have to keep speaking and like actually like think through,
perpetuate the conversation.
And they're just like
you're like
I'm dying
could
here.
Could you expound on that? Could you give me a little more? So you're like the lawyer, like cross-examining someone. And how did you pick up the weapon? And how did that make you feel? And then what happened? And then what happened?
100%. But you guys are always fun. So let people know where to find you. And if you guys want to let them know about any product you guys are doing right now or anything that's hot. Go ahead.
Ooh, not much hot right now, but in the new year, ooh, things are coming. Things are coming. We are at Hoodzpah Design most places, and then on YouTube we're just Hoodzpah. So yeah, give us a follow. Yeah, and you can find how people are using our fonts at #HoodFonts. It's quite fun. It's quite fun to look at.
Yes, they're a fun follow, and then definitely YouTube. The live streams are always fun and good content.
Yes, definitely tune in and hang out with us. We love those.
Yeah, so I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will be back with another one next time. So, peace.